Hi, my name is Guadalupe Ibarra, and I will be talking about diversity in the classroom. The topic that I decided to write about is disabilities, which is also known as special education. So, some of the key points that we will be hitting throughout the slideshow is strategies, resources, the important questions of how and what, as well as the experience that my mom, a general ed teacher, had a few years ago, and some of the references that I used. So some strategies that teachers may use in the classroom is establishing routine. It is very important for a teacher that has a student with special education in routine because let's go back. Hi, my name is Guadalupe Ibarra, and today I will be talking about diversity in the classroom. The topic that I decided to make a PowerPoint about is disabilities, which is also known as special education. Some of the key points that we will be hitting throughout this slideshow is strategies for teachers, some resources teachers may use, the important questions of how and what, some experiences that my mom actually had as a general ed teacher, and the references that I used throughout my slideshow. So, some of the strategies that teachers may use in the classroom is establishing routine. It is very important to establish a routine in the classroom when you have students with disabilities because students with disabilities think very differently from general ed students. For example, maybe a student with autism may not know how to react if they're new to a classroom and they have no idea what the routine in the classroom is. It makes them feel very nervous, maybe causes them to maybe be a little disruptive in the classroom, depending on how severe the student's disability may be, may make an income and output into the classroom setting. Visual aids is also important, which also ties in with establishing routine. Maybe we can have a picture of students sitting on a mat to symbolize circle time, and right next to it, there could be a picture of an apparatus which symbolizes outside time. Like that, maybe a student on the spectrum will be able to concentrate what comes next and actually have a visual aid to help them what's going on. The next thing is teach to interests. I know in my classroom, for wintertime, we used a little stuffed animal of Olaf to show students that during the winter we have snow. And Olaf is actually made out of snow. And so my early childhood education students, which are 3 years old, it caught their eye because it's from a Disney movie, right? So they're able to know and they're able to recognize what character it is and now put it out there in the world that, oh, snow, we can make a snowman if they ever get to touch the snow, you know? Instructional scaffolding. This can be used maybe in elementary school, middle school, and high school for students in a special education classroom. A teacher can teach something about maybe math and then have them think about it to themselves, share with their neighbor, possibly with the whole class, which is think, pair, share, or think to themselves and then make a presentation on it or have a project on it. Whatever it is, that is what scaffolding is, and it is very important to be used for students with disabilities. Some resources for teachers that they can use are websites. The internet is so big, teachers can use it for absolutely anything. I mean, the other day I looked up on Pinterest different ways to use paint, right, for my students, and I know we could make a rainbow. It may not look like a rainbow, but it's the spirit that's there, you know. But websites can be used, like, for example, this one that I put right here, which is called Supporting Individuals with Disabilities. This one's very important because it is actually created by a website that is just about education. So it could be for teachers that are interested in maybe learning new skills for their classroom or like it says there, helping their individuals with disabilities. The next thing is books. A Mind at a Time by Mel Levine is basically can be made for teachers that just strictly teach special education or teachers that teach general education. And it can be used for just to remind us that students think at a different pace. I have a student with autism in the classroom that he knows his letters, his numbers, his colors, his animals, and it's insane. He's only 3 years old. While on the other hand, there may be another student with autism in my classroom that doesn't know anything. He's mute. He has trouble putting things like put like little put-ins, or maybe even hand over hand. He may put his hand by the side when we're trying to help him out. So they learn at different paces. Their minds just think differently than each other. And so books is very important to be used for teachers, right? Another thing is learning from our peers, our other educators, our colleagues. Right here, I actually put an expo that's coming up in March. It will be in Austin, Texas, for those teachers that are interested in learning about different disabilities and different ways and skills and strategies to use in the classroom setting. Now this Stevie Wonder, a very successful man that actually has a disability. His disability is blindness. He says, blindness, it is fact, but it's not important to me. But again, it's not important because I've never known the difference. So what he's basically saying here that he's never known anything but being blind, right? So he wouldn't really know anything other than what's going on. Maybe like for example, my mom's student, she had a student that was on a wheelchair, and I'll explain that a little later. He for him to see other students playing on the playground, it was very heartbreaking for him. He didn't even want to go outside at times because he just thought it wasn't fair. While there's my aunt, on the other hand, she has epilepsy. She doesn't know how to drive, and sometimes she doesn't cook for herself because she can possibly have a seizure on the road or on the pan, like whatever it is. We're always there to help her out. But I felt bad for her a couple of times, and she says, don't worry about me. I've never known any other. I've never been on the road other than when you're driving me or your mom is driving you. I meant us. So don't worry about it. I've never known anything else. And so students with disabilities, people with disabilities, think differently than each other. Like the student on the wheelchair, Stevie Wonder, and my aunt. How is learning about disabilities important in the education? So the how, with the first question we have. So this goes out for my general ed teachers. It could help you become an efficient teacher. So maybe you're looking at your roster, you just see a bunch of names, and then here comes the first day of school. And then you see a student with maybe spina bifida, or a student with an interpreter, maybe they're deaf, or a student with Down syndrome. Now the names mean something else, right? Because now you're tying in this name to a student with a disability. And just learning about their disability makes a difference in the classroom, because you're trying to make the classroom feel more welcoming to the student. If it's a student on a wheelchair, then we'll have to move a couple of things around the classroom so the student is able to maneuver throughout the classroom, right? Special education teachers, on the other hand, their job is to know about disabilities, but to learn further more into this disability can make a difference in the classroom. Maybe you learn something new about deaf students. I know something about the deaf community is that they don't appreciate that you look at a signing conversation because it's considered eavesdropping. Even if you don't understand what they're saying, it is very rude to them. So now that you know that, and maybe in a high school classroom setting, you see two people signing, and this whole time you've been looking at them like, wow, they're just really good at signing. Now you know that it's not good to look at them because they may feel offended, and it is considered disrespectful to their community. So just learning more facts about the different disabilities makes a difference. The next thing is, what should teachers learn about disabilities? So the purpose of being a teacher is to empower all students, care for all students, and have a positive impact to all students. And so I highlighted all in pink because that's my favorite color. But what I want teachers to learn about disabilities is that all empowering, caring, positive, it should be for students with disabilities. All doesn't just mean students with disabilities, it can also mean students with different religions, gifted students, etc. Whatever it may be, diverse. Just remember that your purpose of being a teacher is to do it for all students. There should be no, in your eyes, in your heart, you shouldn't see a difference in either if of any of your students, no matter what it is. This code says having an understanding of a disability and the limitations caused by that disability are essential when teaching to and interacting with students whose learning styles are different from their peers. Something, maybe teaching them can be different from another student, but it shouldn't make them different from them. Just because they may not learn at the same pace as someone else, just because they were absent because they had Ash Wednesday earlier in the day and they have a mark across their head and that's not the same religion as you, shouldn't make them different. And so today I will be sharing an experience that my mom had in her general ed classroom. My mom has been a general ed teacher for 29 years, and she's had students with different disabilities like autism and ADHD, but she's never had a student on a wheelchair until maybe 5 years ago. This student to the right is not the student that we will be talking about, but it is just a picture of a student who successfully is learning how to walk after having spina bifida. Spina bifida is basically, it's a disability that paralyzes you from the hip down, and sometimes it can cause a intellectual disability or take control of your arms as well. Fortunately for my mom's student, he was able to use his hands. He was able to use his voice. He was much of a chatterbox, and I love him so much. For legal purposes, I will not be using his real name. I will be using the nicknames of Jeffrey and Jefferson in this presentation. So let me talk about Jeffrey/Jefferson. So in the classroom, he had to have a lot of changes, and he noticed it. And yes, he was very grateful, but he was very embarrassed, and he was very verbal about it, would tell my mom about it and his family, to the point where there was tears. He would have to leave 10 minutes before the rest of his class so that he could walk to the cafeteria, then take a break meanwhile his walk, and then continue walking, and so that he could make it on time with his peers. And he appreciated that my mom took that into consideration. But as mentioned, he was very embarrassed, and he shouldn't be. I mean, just because of his disability, it shouldn't make someone different, as mentioned, but it did make him feel bad. Another thing is that he wasn't able to play on the playground. He wasn't able to go down the slide or go on the swing, and he missed out. He felt like he was missing out, as mentioned earlier, right? But my mom made sure that there was a positive change in his life. She actually talked to his mom and asked permission if he could go down the slide, meaning that she would actually carry him down the slide so that he could get the chance to actually feel what it's like to play on an apparatus. And she gave the thumbs up, and so down the slide he would go, at times maybe like 3 times a week, the 5-day school week, right? And he was very grateful. This actually caused him to might have a change in his mind. He was actually very more positive in his classroom, doing his work. He was actually starting to be very grateful for every single thing that was given to him, that his classmates would help him. that he was able to go 10 minutes ahead of everybody else. He had a different mindset, is what I'm trying to say, and he was very mature about it, and I'm very proud of Jefferson/Jeffrey, and my mom is too. My mom had him for 3 years in a row, and we still have in contact with his family, and he is striving. He is one smart boy, and we are super proud of him always. And here I have a picture of a student with Down syndrome with his cap and gown. It is actually a fact that 49.5% of students with disabilities are four-year college graduates, and this was actually in 2022. And here we have our team. My name is Guadalupe Ibarra, as mentioned earlier in the presentation. I am an aspiring early childhood educator, and I would love to teach students with disabilities, so I'm currently doing that in Alameda Elementary School in Downey. I love it so much, and ever since I was little, I've always wanted to write books, and I want to really get back into doing that. So I will start my journey of writing books about disabilities so that students know the diversity in not only the world, but maybe if someone comes into their classroom, then they know what their disability is and how to be respectful with their classmates, right? Here to the right, I have my mom, Mariana Guzman. She is a current educator for the Compton Unified School District. She's been an educator for 29 years, and she is actually the teacher that had her experience with Jeffrey/Jefferson. I love my mom so much, and she is actually the reason why I want to be a teacher, because of her struggles and her resilience from her struggles. I am so thankful for her and for giving me the blessing of wanting to be a teacher. Here I have my references that I use throughout the slideshow. It's just a few from YouTube videos to actual websites. So if interested in wanting to learn more about the different disabilities, please click on any of these. And thank you so much for taking the time to listening to my presentation. I'm a bit sick, but I am going to get better. And if you guys have any questions, please email me at ibarraiguadalupe@gmail.com. And please keep learning about disabilities, whether you're a teacher or just anyone interested. It doesn't hurt to try, it doesn't hurt to learn. And thank you so much again for listening to me. Have a great day.